Watauga Arts Council with your host, Cherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.
Hi, I'm Cherry Johnson with Watauga County Arts Council. You know, there's a lot going on in this world today, and we all need a little escape. And we've got an escape to tell you about. We have an opportunity for you. I have with me Joel Williams, who is a professor at the university's Department of Theater and Dance, but you are also the director of production, correct, which is called Noises Off.
Noises Off, that's correct.
Which is a strange title for a play, but we're going to get into that. And we have with us two of the members of the cast. We have Paige Borden, and we have Jack Lafferty. And you guys are actors in the production. You're not necessarily the leading parts, but you can help us tell this story and talk about it. So Joel, you and I were talking about this production, and it's rather complex.
Well, it's got layers because it's a play within a play, and both plays are comedies. So what we see in the first act is an acting company that is in rehearsals, very pressured, late. Some of the actors think, well, we're doing the technical rehearsal, and the other director is saying, well, no, you're in the dress rehearsal. Well, when was the tech rehearsal? We open in 6 hours. So there's a lot of pressure on, and the production that they're rehearsing is called Nothing On. It's a British farce, so there's a little bit of innuendo of that nothing on. We don't really see nothing, but
you just hear about it.
You just hear about it. So we see them in rehearsal and seeing them struggle to get this farce correct. There's 7 doors on the set, plus other doorways and outlets. So I haven't totaled them all up. I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 or 13 entrances and exits that are possible.
And everybody knows where they're going.
Right. So, it was one of those, I grew up watching the Three Stooges running through the hotel hallways.
Exactly.
And outdoors. So,
that's what I'm thinking about.
So there's a lot of that coming and going in Nothing On. So what happens in the second act is the scenery turns around and the audience gets to see what goes on backstage with this company of actors who are a little ill-prepared to do the show. And in addition to that, there are relationships that are going on. The director of Nothing On has been dating 2 of the cast members, well, 1 cast member and 1 stage manager. Dottie, the leading actress of the Nothing On, has been dating one of the younger cast members, and then halfway through the tour we find out in the second act she's got her, what does you say, claws into Freddie. So
you're Freddie.
I am. Yes. So Freddie and Roger have, unbeknownst really to Freddie because he's a little dense, a little slow, but he and Roger is very jealous of Freddie and Dottie's attentions towards him. Then Dottie also has an old companion actor who she's brought into the show, Selston, who's an older actor who's a little hard of hearing and enjoys his whiskey. And so he's constantly, they're constantly on guard to make sure that he doesn't have access to any alcohol because it's bad enough that he tends to be late for his entrances anyway. So there's a little, what I like to say is there's a little too much lust, a little too much alcohol, and a little too much or too little preparation for this acting company to really do a good job. And so we see them behind the scenes in Act 2 going absolutely, there's mayhem and chaos as they try to make their entrances and be on time on stage and to accomplish what we saw in rehearsal in the first act. But of course, again, in the second act, we're watching it all from behind the scenes. So it's really nice. When I was when I went to my college orientation, one of the things that got me interested in theater is they put on a little play. And it was a small set, but it was a nice little box set. It looked like a room and that sort of thing. And I was impressed with that. But what really impressed me is after the show was over, I went backstage and saw how everything was just facade. Everything was just, it was the magic of, oh wow, this is not really a room. It's just little flats that stick up in the door. It's just, and
just
so
the impression.
Right. So one of the things that Noises Off allows the audience to do is to see what the back of that beautiful set looks like.
And not that many people have seen the back of a set.
That's correct. And the term noises off comes from the idea that occasionally in a stage direction, you will some actor's voice or some pre-recorded sound effect will come from off stage, and so you have a sound from the noises off.
Okay,
And
that helps make sense. Okay.
And in the third act, we hear a lot of, we turn the set back around and see them, they're on tour, and so they're now much further into tour. All the things which were simmering at the beginning have now come to a boil. And so they're trying to, the show just, as we've seen in the first act, they're rehearsing, the show that we now see on the stage resembles nothing close to the rehearsal. Well, enough to make it, comical. But at that point, with everything boiling over, we get to see, what's happening on the stage, but we hear a lot about what's going on backstage, and we can only then imagine the madness and the mayhem that's going backstage in the third act, having seen some of the madness and mayhem in the second act. So it's a really, it's actors playing actors behaving badly.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
So Paige, our actress, plays Belinda, who is the actress who's been hired to play Flavia in Nothing On. So there's 3 layers there, and I'm terrible with names generally anyway.
Oh, this is helpful, isn't it?
Oh, very much so. So, Jack,
This guy.
I had to stop and think. Jack can tell you that I normally am in rehearsal saying, "Now, Roger, I need you to do that. Roger. And he finally looks at me and goes, "Do you mean Philip?" And I went, "Yes, that's exactly what I mean."
So y'all have developed mind reading skills.
Well, they have to pretty much. So Will Allen plays Roger. No, he plays Gary, who plays Roger. You see, it
can get confusing.
Right. Now, it's all presented very logically and piece by piece when you come to see the show, so people don't get really lost in who's who and what's what.
Well, that answers my question, because I was going to ask Paige and Jack if you ever got confused about what you're playing.
Be honest.
Before the first time I read it, before we had our read through, I was a bit confused because I'm a visual learner, so just reading it from the text wasn't really doing it for me.
I can see how it would be hard to follow that. You have to really think about that really carefully.
Yeah, on paper it's complicated. when it starts coming together in reality, it's really not too bad, but reading it is very, very difficult. And for me, in the third act, and even in the first couple of acts, someone else goes on as me in the middle of it as well. So to read it, I have to really cipher through which Philip they're talking about. Is Frederick playing Philip, or is it Tim playing Philip?
Is it this Jack
I
playing
just don't
Frederick
know, right?
That's correct, because I hadn't really thought about that, but you're a special case, because not only does Jack play Frederick, who plays Philip, but Philip plays another character as well for a very brief moment at the end of the act.
So now that you're completely
confused. You got to come see it to really understand it. But I can pretty much guarantee that people will leave laughing. That it is one of those shows that if we do a modicum of a good job, that the audience will really have a good time. And I think they're going to do more than just a good job. I think they're going to do a really great job.
I think this sounds like something I desperately need, and that's a couple of hours of fun and laughing and relaxing and enjoying something that's just, that you have to pay attention to keep up with.
Right.
I like the sound of this. All right, now, Jack, I know everybody's wondering, you have a slightly different accent from the rest of us. You're not a Southerner.
I am not.
You are not. And also I read in some of the information that was sent to me that the actors sometimes change accents to show who they're playing at the time. So I'm real curious. The accent you have, of course, I heard from Scotland.
I am from Scotland, yeah.
Okay. Now, do you also acquire other accents as you're going through this production?
I do, yeah. When I'm playing Frederick, the actor,
yes,
I have a Scottish accent, but a somewhat stronger one than I might have now in everyday speaking.
He exaggerates it.
I have to, but it's really bringing it back to what it used to be, because I've spent so long here now that I've really diluted my
softened
accent
it,
to be a bit more understandable. So for Frederick, I lay on my Scottish accent a little thicker, and then when I'm Philip, I have a standard English accent. But when I was a child, my mother's English, and so I actually had an English accent. So for me, I'm kind of reviving 2 accents that I once in my life did have.
And so
But neither of them are what I have now.
Reliving your past is what you're doing.
So I think I have a little bit of an advantage over some of the other cast, because an English accent was once the way I spoke,
Right.
and a Scottish accent, a really strong accent, is also the way that I
That's fascinating.
speak. So.
All right, now I have to ask, because I know everybody's wondering, what are you doing in North Carolina?
I came in 2004. I came and worked at a summer camp in North Carolina, and I loved it. And I worked at that summer camp for 6 summers in a row. And then after all that finished, I was going back to Europe for my winters, and decided that I should really get a degree before I continue to be a ski bum and a seasonal worker for the rest of my life. So I came and managed to. A lot of things worked out for me to be able to come here, but. Particularly, I went to the Highland Games, the Grandfather Mountain Highland Games, and found a scholarship through the St. Andrews Society of North Carolina.
Fantastic.
So,
all right, and you're not a theater major.
I'm not. I'm a recreation management theater major.
And you just got basically seduced by Trabella Cheney into acting, is
I
that
did,
correct?
yeah. She lured me in and made me promise that I'd stick with it, and I love it. I really do love it a lot. So
I'm looking forward to seeing you in a production.
Thank you.
Now, Paige, you are a theater major, and you were telling me that you kind of started out in dance.
Yeah, I was doing ballet for a while. I was in a pre-professional program in Asheville, and then I just got sick of it. I don't know. It wore
Wasn't
me
your
out.
thing? Wasn't your calling?
No. But then I started doing some plays with school, and I enjoyed it, so I completely quit dance and started doing theater.
That's wonderful. So now your goals, you're going to be graduating with theater degree pretty soon.
And I'm a dance minor now. So.
Okay. Well, that comes in handy.
Hasn't
If you're in
given it up.
theater, you need to have some dance. Okay, and so then you're going to be going to the big time.
That's the plan. We'll see. I don't know.
We're all waiting to see.
Yeah.
We're all going to be watching. Okay. Now, Joel, you've been with the university how long?
Oh, no,
You don't
that's
even
not
know.
nice. No, I do know. 21 years. This is my 21st year.
That's wonderful. That's something to be proud of. No.
It's not that I'm ashamed of it. It's just that I was somewhere else 10 years before that, so I've been around a long time. So
Okay.
it's
Lots of experience.
a lot of age. That's
Lots of experience.
lots of experience.
Okay.
A lot of wisdom.
Now, you teach, obviously.
That's correct.
And then you also direct productions.
That's
and
correct.
I was reading over a list. You have several very credible. Give us some names of some of the productions you particularly have enjoyed.
Well, one of the shows that I'm really proud of is back in 2001 we did a production of a Romulus Linney adaptation of Ernest Gaines' novel A Lesson Before Dying.
Which I just recently we had, or is that this weekend?
The Linney
The Linney
dedication
yes,
of his. He passed away, I think, just over a year and a half ago,
Right.
and his papers were dedicated or donated or
Acquired.
entrusted. I think the way they like to say it was just entrusted to the Belk Library, and he's a significant American playwright. And we've done several of his works over the years. The department has.
So are you repeating any of that?
Not right now. We actually, hopefully, he's got one work that we know of that has never been produced, and we're hoping to maybe take a look at that and
Very
see. It's
interesting.
all very early, so I don't want to promise anything or say anything. But
Right.
that's one of the things that came out over the weekend as we saw that found out that he has an unpublished work among
That's
the papers
great.
that were donated, and we're
That's
going to take a look at
interesting.
possibly producing that in the near future. But one of the things I'm really proud of at the university is we do have a very strong liberal arts approach to theater education,
Good.
teaching theater to people, teaching students to be theater teachers, the next generation, hopefully, of Tremella Cheneys that are out there.
Exactly. Well, you have Sarah Miller to your credit. I
That's
think.
correct. Well, no, I don't.
She might not have got.
I
She's
don't-
one of Tremella's.
She's one of Tremella's,
yes.
students, but I think I can't claim. I think Sarah went somewhere else to school, but we won't say
How
where.
horrible.
Yeah, but I think it's really important that our undergraduate students, and we do encourage them to begin to think about a specialization, but we really do try to give them a variety of background experiences, so they don't come out just as a performer, even though they may have concentrated as that.
Yes.
And we're always glad to see people like Jack, who
You're trying to pick which name to call him.
not actually a theater major, but has an interest in theater. We really think that theater is not just for, the professional.
Yes.
That a lot of our kids who graduate with a theater degree will go on and do other things. We did this production 13 years ago, The Noise is Off.
Right.
And I have been in touch with all but, there are 9 cast members, and I've been in touch with all but one of the previous cast members. About half of those are still doing theater, and the other half have gone into other things, which are been very successful with.
One question I was going to ask you was, why is it that you do what you do as opposed to just being a director someplace doing, theater?
Well, for me, I always felt early on that teaching was a calling. I had an undergraduate directing teacher who was really in a small program in South Alabama. Although I sometimes tell people I went to school in L.A., that's lower Alabama. But he was a tremendous influence on me, and I just sort of said, that's who I want to be. That's what I want to do. I want to teach people and encourage people. He taught me, and what I try to teach our students is that theater is a collaborative art, and the more you know, if you're going to teach or if you're going to be a part of it, the more you know about all the other team members, the better off you are. You don't have to necessarily be able to do everything that everybody else does, but you need to know, to go to the sports metaphor, the quarterback has to know what the tailback's supposed to do, and the lineman has to know what the tailback is supposed to do. Everybody has to know on that creative team what the other person's job is about and what they're responsible for. And we try to teach that. And I've been fortunate in my career and I do consider myself a theater generalist, even though my degree is in directing, and directing is probably the thing I enjoy the most. I've designed, I've worked as a stage manager, I've worked as an actor myself
set design.
out at Blowing Rock, and I recently have written a play. And it was just been announced that I've been notified. I haven't gotten the dates for it yet, but I've been told that Southern Appalachian Repertory Theater down in Mars Hill is going to be reading that as a part of a public reading in November, so I'm really pleased with that. Jack has helped me over time. He's done some table readings with us as I was working and developing the play. So
what is a table reading?
That's where a lot of times with the new work, before the playwright's still trying to figure out, okay, it sounds good on paper. How does it sound coming out of an actor's mouth? So we'll sit around a table and read the script.
Gotcha.
And then the playwright hopefully will learn from that and go back and go, well, that passage is too long. And Jack was particularly helpful.
Cast a Scottish person as this role because it's a Southern play.
But Jack, but no, Jack was particularly helpful because it is set in Southwest North Carolina back around the 1940s. So it does have a lot of local idioms. And so Jack was really helpful. We'd be reading along, and I'd remember that that's something that's very, mountain speak. And so I'd turn to Jack and say,
don't forget that many of us from the mountains are Scotch-Irish.
Yeah, true. And I would say, Jack, does that make sense? Does that make sense to you? So he's very helpful in that way. So, but to get back to the point I was trying to make, just about the notion that you can specialize in theater, but I really feel like, just like in medicine, there ought to be some theater people out there who are general practitioners, who understand how to bring together all these experts. And I think it's really important for a director. If you're planning on directing them, you really have to be able to talk and communicate with the people who are designing for you, with the people who are building your scenery, with the people who are building your costumes, designing your costumes. The more you understand about what they bring to you and how to utilize their strengths. It's like I try to tell my casts, if I have to make up everything that's funny, it's only going to be as funny as I can make it. We're running a little contest, and for every actor who invents some new little idea, something that's funny that makes me laugh during a rehearsal, I give them a little tick mark, and we have a little prize going at the end.
What a great way to spend your day, with people trying to make you laugh.
That's exactly right.
That's absolutely wonderful.
But the other thing I want to just make clear to everybody, it's a lot of hard work. We have worked very hard. The cast has come in. A lot of the cast has been participating in an extra hour of rehearsal.
Tough. Yes, it is.
Right. We rehearse. I like to say, normally I rehearse anywhere from 2.5 to 3 hours a night. Right now I'm rehearsing anywhere from 3 to 3 hours and 10 minutes a night. I really try to get them out in 3 hours, but this is a tough show.
And you're waking up during the night and thinking about it too.
Well, it's really just not going to sleep. it takes me a while when I get home to go, okay, when I see before I can chill out and let it go.
Well, you brought up something a minute ago that made me think of something else, and that is the Arts Council is big into education. And one of the things that we encourage is the multiple intelligence approach to education.
Right.
Because children get things in different ways. But one of the things that they gain from, especially theater, is, and in a lot of art forms, is learning to be a team. Because you were talking about how you have to know what everybody else is doing. You're not trying to do what they're supposed to do, but you have to work cooperatively to make it happen. And I think the arts have such a value in education, even for those kids who, Jack, don't turn out to be professional actors, you know, who have another career goal. They still are gaining skills and things that are going to stand them in very good stead as they go through life.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really very important for all of us to recognize and all of us to support, you know, the value of the arts as a whole, and theater being one of them.
Right.
So.
And the other thing we should be sure to mention is that the Office of Cultural Affairs every year at Appalachian maintains a performing arts series.
They do.
And normally their primary venue is Farthing Auditorium.
Right.
And it's currently this year undergoing a major private gift
Schaefer Hall.
Schaefer Hall renovation. And so we've been working with the Office of Cultural Affairs, Department of Theater and Dance has, to try and provide some venue space for them, although ours is full a lot of the times with our own performances, but we've managed to carve out some niches for them to do some, and they've adopted us in a sense, in that Noises Off is going to be a part of the Performing Arts series this year. So we're looking forward to having hopefully a lot of new folks who've not been in the Valborg Theater before. It's been there now for 20 years. It was renovated when I first came.
And it's a wonderful space.
It is a beautiful space to be in. And I just know from dealing with people in the community and talking with some folks that, I've never been in that space. And, this hopefully will be a wonderful introduction. Nothing particularly scary about this production. It's not a Shakespeare production. It's not, a heavy-duty Death of a Salesman, or it's not one of the, and we try to do, of course, a large range of plays for the benefit of our students, so they can see historic pieces and different time periods and different genres, of course. But and I know that doesn't appeal to everyday theater goer, but this particular one hopefully will. And I'm hoping that people, when they see the space and see the quality of the work that the students are doing, that they'll come back and see some of our other shows.
Well, in one of our recent interviews, we were talking about seeing the stars of tomorrow, because many of your students do go on to professional careers and become very well known in their field. And so, we are seeing the stars of tomorrow, and they are very talented. So now we need to talk about tickets, and since it's going through the Office of Arts and Cultural Programs, does that change that at all?
No, it really hasn't. As a matter of fact, it's been enhanced because the folks who normally run the offices for out of Farthing have moved into our box office.
Oh, so our box, Sarah Eustace.
That's correct. Sarah is running our box office and has brought several different improvements, including a new coffee pot that the students who work in that space. Yes, and so tickets are being sold through our regular phone number, which we brought in some extra phone lines because of the other Performing Arts Series things, but. If you're familiar with the phone number for the Theater and Dance box office, that's still there. That's 828-262-3063.
Okay.
And that number will ring through to the box office. But if you call the Church and Center Performance Series phone numbers that are available on their website, it'll also take you to the same spot.
Okay.
So you don't necessarily, the tickets are available either through the Theater and Dance website or through the Office of Cultural Affairs website, the Performing Arts Series.
Tickets are $8 for students.
That's correct.
And what was the?
Faculty and staff.
Is what?
12.
And then 15
General admission is 15. Right.
And the production dates are?
October the 5th, that's Wednesday.
3rd.
Oh, October the 3rd.
Is next Wednesday, yeah.
See, I'm trying to make it later.
You're trying to wish your life away.
Thank you very much. It's Wednesday, October the 3rd through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Thank you. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, and then a Sunday matinee. The Sunday matinee will be at 2, and the evening performances start at 7:30. So it's Wednesday, October the 3rd through that Sunday, which is the 7th. Thank you, Jack.
We're glad you came.
Well,
It's October the 5th. I had October the 5th in my head for some reason. I don't know
Maybe
why.
it's a birthday of
That's
yours.
probably something important that I need to. I'm going to have to.
October the 5th is art crawl night, so people could do
Maybe
art
that's
crawl
what-
and still go do
that's
the
correct.
production, and I think that sounds like a fabulous evening.
Right now, with
So-
art crawl, do they occasionally have the ability to stop it and have a little
That's
refreshment,
right.
liquid refreshment?
We start you out at our gallery.
Uh-huh.
Come by about 6. You can start with us. You kind of work your way down the street and end up at the Valborg.
There we
and
go.
many places along the way, starting with us, do provide refreshments.
Okay, so I think if you come to Noises Off a little relaxed and ready to enjoy the
You're
evening,
going to have a great time.
I think you're going to have a really good time. Even if you're not relaxed, even if you're a little stressed that day, I think it will help
we
unwind
have planned
you.
your Friday night the 5th.
There you
You are
are.
going to start at the Watauga County Arts Council's new gift shop and gallery, which is at where Palucci's is, that building, on the far end of King Street, and you're going to work your way all the way down the street, and you're going to end up with a great production. I don't see how you could go wrong.
Right, and for folks who don't know, the Valborg Theater is located on Howard Street.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most people know that Howard Street sort of now dead ends at the Belk Library parking deck and then
Right.
picks up again on the other side.
Right.
Well, we're at that dead end, the little cul-de-sac right before you get to the
Right
parking
behind
lot.
Turchin Center.
Right behind Turchin Center.
So-
And that's the front of the theater where the lobby is. So it's easy to find. On weeknights, there's some available parking in the Belk parking deck.
Parking is not a problem.
Right behind the Turchin Center, and there's a very small parking lot with some handicap spaces right next to between the Rayleigh Business Building and Chapel Wilson Hall.
All right.
And then the big parking lot down, what we call the lower 40, down in front of Rayleigh, between Rayleigh and Farthing Auditorium, is not a very distant walk if you need to park down there and walk
And
up
if you
to
park
Chapel.
up at our end and you walk all the way down, enjoy the production, by the time you finish the theater production, there's still some places open on the art crawl, so you could make your way back up the street again to your car. At which point, I hope you can still drive. But at any rate, all right. So thank you very, very much
Well, it's
for
been a
coming
pleasure to be
and
here.
spending some time with me. Paige, thank you for coming and joining us. Jack, I've really enjoyed getting to meet you.
likewise, thank you.
And we hope that you will join all of us. I'm going to be there too sometime during that time. It won't be that Friday night. I've got too much to do that night. But we will enjoy this production. I think it's going to be great. We were laughing about, he was saying it's like an onion, lots of layers. And we said, and there'll be peals of laughter.
That's
so we
correct.
are all set for the peals of laughter. Join us. Check the Arts Council's website, watauga-arts.org, for this and so much more.
Watauga Arts Council with your host, Cherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.